may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, the reason I am making this video is because this is what you told me that you wanted down in the YouTube comments. So please go down to the comment section. Let me know what your biggest hits were in 2020. Let me know what you got right about things. And before y'all come out here and get annoyed with me just talking about what we got right, I already uploaded a video with everything that we got wrong, with my biggest regrets in 2020. So here, I'm not just tooting my own horn, which y'all know I love to do. Also, when you're down there in the comment section, feel free to let me know about stuff that I was wrong on. Y'all been following with me all year, so let me hear it. Come at me. Also, let me know what you were right on. Leave that comment so we can go down there. We can all celebrate together. This has been a fantastic fantasy football season. And while y'all are down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel. You know all the usuals. Now, let's get into it and let's talk about our 5 biggest hits in 2020. And let's start it off with my #1 running back coming into the NFL draft, DeAndre Swift. Okay, so I know DeAndre Swift has had some bad reports as of late with the concussion. We actually just got a report that, quote-unquote, DeAndre Swift has not been the same since the concussion. I think that really, that's probably going to be a little bit overblown. I think we have to see him on the field. I want to come out here and say that DeAndre Swift has been a massive hit already. I mean, if you look at the Detroit Lions since their bye week, DeAndre Swift has actually been the running back 8 in points per game. So he's already operating as a low-end running back 1. And based on the last game that we saw with DeAndre Swift, he showed us exactly what you would ever want to see from a running back in fantasy, where he's not only being incredibly efficient between the tackles when he runs the ball, he's not only getting that usage at the goal line, but he is one of the best receiving running backs in the entire NFL, and he has the frame to be a bell cow running back. I stand by the fact that DeAndre Swift is going to win people their fantasy leagues in 2020. And yeah, I mean, just knowing that he's been the running back 8 overall since his bye week, I think that we can all agree that DeAndre Swift has been a major success so far, especially knowing that you most likely drafted DeAndre Swift in the 7th or 8th round of your fantasy football draft. And if I was going to tell you that you could get the running back 8 in the 7th round of your fantasy football draft, I think you would be signing up for that every single day. I mean, DeAndre Swift looks like a league winner, and I promise you, he is a league winner. And now, let's keep it with the rookie running backs. Let's go with Antonio Gibson. Okay, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on Antonio Gibson. I actually just made an in-depth video for him for our Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, and whether I think that he is a buy or a sell in Dynasty Fantasy Football. But I really want to come out here and I want to brag on Antonio Gibson, because over the summer for our Dynasty Fantasy Football content, I had never received so much hate before. I was coming out and I was saying that Antonio Gibson was an elite prospect. I was saying that he was a much better option than Darius Geis, that he was going to straight out beat out Darius Geis. Obviously, Geis got kicked out of the NFL, so Antonio Gibson did not have to jump that hurdle. But clearly, I think that we can all agree that Antonio Gibson and his talent profile have been a complete smash. And everybody with the brain should have seen this coming. Everybody with the brain at this point knows that what matters at the running back position in fantasy football is an elite athletic profile, the ability to catch balls out of the backfield, and the size to go along with it. Really, you don't need to have a ton of experience running between the tackles, because I think we can also all agree that the running back position is the easiest position in the entire NFL to learn. So Antonio Gibson, being a former wide receiver out of Memphis that had prototypical size, that had an athletic profile that compared him to Saquon Barkley, and because he was a former wide receiver, he's a fantastic receiver out of the backfield. I mean, Antonio Gibson had everything you would want to see. The only thing that has not gone Antonio Gibson's way is, one, the usage of J.D. McKissic over the past month. But I think based on what we saw this past week, Antonio Gibson may be breaking out of that shell. And guys, if you look at since the bye week for the Washington football team, Antonio Gibson is actually the running back 4 in points per game, literally providing you elite production. Now, I don't know if he's still going to be a top 5 running back rest of season. I have him as a low-end running back 1 rest of season, so I think he should regress a little bit. I'm not saying that he's going to average a touchdown every single game like we've seen so far in 2020, but we know he has the frame to be able to handle usage on all 3 downs, We know he has the pass catching ability to be that great option out of the backfield for Alex Smith. And we know that he has the athletic ability to break off those very long explosive plays. All right, so now let's get to our next player, someone that we loved going into the NFL draft as well. If y'all remember, in our Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, we had him as our wide receiver 3 for the 2020 Fantasy Football Draft, and this is Justin Jefferson. Now, I know y'all probably all wondering, Mason, you're saying you really hit on Justin Jefferson if you had him as your wide receiver 3. We only had him behind Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, and you would never find anybody that would have him any higher than number 3 overall. A lot of people had him down there at number 6, at number 7, but really with Justin Jefferson, he had the exact type of production coming out of LSU that you wanted to see. With Justin Jefferson, not only was he one of the most prolific wide receivers in football in 2019 with Joe Burrow under center and having LSU with the best season of all time, but also the year previously where Justin Jefferson was not playing in an offense that prolific. He still had fantastic numbers if you look at his market share compared to the other wide receivers in that offense. And now if we're looking at what Justin Jefferson has been able to do in the NFL so far, Justin Jefferson is currently the wide receiver 6 overall in points per game since his week 3 breakout. We know the first 2 weeks, the Minnesota Vikings really wanted to use Justin Jefferson as that big slot wide receiver where they weren't necessarily letting him get a ton of usage on the outside, where since they transitioned him over to the outside, Justin Jefferson has been a complete smash. I mean, he is dominating pretty much everybody that he is going up against. He's been the most efficient rookie wide receiver that we have ever seen in NFL history. If you were talking about the fantasy points that he is seeing per target, the fantasy points that he's seeing per route run, and what's crazy about this as well is Justin Jefferson is 21 years old. I don't know how many times I have to talk about this, but Justin Jefferson is younger than I am, and he is dominating NFL cornerbacks as I sit here at my desk and make fantasy football YouTube videos. I mean, embarrassing on my part. I am so impressed. I have the biggest man crush you will ever see on Justin Jefferson. Yeah, so gonna have to come out here, do a quick little victory lap on that. And now our next victory lap that we are going to be taking was one of our avoid running backs coming into this season, Todd Gurley. Okay, with Todd Gurley, he is currently the running back 20 in points per game. And honestly, it could have been a lot worse than that. Todd Gurley ran extremely hot with touchdowns in 2020, where really that rate was unsustainable, where we knew he was going to regress back. Todd Gurley was going to end up probably being around running backs 26, 27 if he was able to play this entire season in terms of points per game. But here with Todd Gurley, I'll say there are so many clear reasons why we were wanting to avoid him coming into the NFL. Guys, I'll say real quick, it's so funny how many people on Twitter wanted to play doctor with Todd Gurley, where they were coming out and saying, oh no, Todd Gurley's still good. Look at this run. Look at him cut up field, blah, blah, blah. That knee is still fine. That knee is going to hold up for the 2020 football season. And the Rams came out here and said, hey, we have some real doctors. We don't have doctors on YouTube. We have doctors in our staff, guys that are evaluating Todd Gurley and can actually see the exact x-rays we have on his knee. And they said, this running back's done. We are going to cut him. He does not have the juice anymore, and he's not going to be able to hold up for the entire season. So we don't care that we're going to have to pay a ton of dead cap on the Todd Gurley contract. We are just willing to get him off of our rosters. So that is the number one way you can get an advantage. Just listen to what the team is telling you. The team was telling us with Todd Gurley that he was done. The Los Angeles Rams were willing to pay him millions and millions and millions of dollars to not play for them. I mean, what are we talking about here? Anybody who drafted Todd Gurley coming into 2020 should be embarrassed. Todd Gurley was incredibly inefficient. He looked like one of the worst running backs in the entire NFL when he was active. And now, I mean, that knee is flaring up. Clearly, it was a problem all along. Okay, so now our next running back, y'all know one of our top running back avoids coming into the 2020 football season, Kenyan Drake. Currently the running back 23 in points per game. And we know that Kenyan Drake has been extremely volatile so far. And with Kenyan Drake, there were so many red flags around that profile. One, we knew that Chase Edmonds was a fantastic running back behind him, where Chase Edmonds was most likely going to be getting usage in the offense. Two, we zoomed back. We did not just look at a very small sample size of Kenyan Drake in Arizona. I know a lot of people want to hyper focus in on those small samples over and over and over again, and I am always begging y'all, try to get as many of those data points into your subset as possible, because we know the NFL is an extremely small sample game. It's extremely volatile week to week. So everybody coming out here saying that Kenyan Drake was a guaranteed bell cow running back had no idea what they were talking about. They just had to look back, look at the usage he got at Miami, look at the usage he got at Alabama, and really understand that Kenyan Drake was a committee running back all along. He was never going to have the feature down role in Arizona. Clearly, that's what we've seen so far. He has not gotten those targets out of the backfield, and he has not lived up to draft day expectations. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And I hope I'll see you on the live stream on either Friday night, Saturday night, or Sunday morning.